Welcome back to the show, everyone. Hi, Dana.
How you doing, Gwen?
Hey, just living the life, living the dream over here.
Do you have new glasses, or are those
These are
glasses instead of
readers. These
contacts?
are readers.
Oh, okay.
I have now my that's my new thing that I'm collecting.
Is where you, oh,
Readers.
because you lose them and then you find them like in
Yep,
various
yep, yep.
places. Yeah,
So these are the ones that I have at my desk. They are very light and comfortable, so that's been really nice
nice.
because I have to keep them on. But
Yeah.
someone a parent did say she did compliment me on my readers, and she calls them my Dahmer glasses. And she said, but that is really with the nicest. So I
I didn't
don't
make the connection prior, but now yeah, it's like that 70s.
yeah.
I like in my readers though, I mean, like I get this is a bigger lens because if I'm looking straight forward, looking down at a page, I want to be able to see the whole page and not like just a little bit of it
Oh
like these
yeah.
little skinny readers do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I also
Yeah.
can't wear glasses that don't have nose pieces. They don't like
Yeah,
I
because
it would
your slide
I've
for you, right? Yeah.
I have
Oh,
no bridge on my nose at all.
that's
So they
gotta
don't
be
they're
annoying.
it's like look at this. This is this is like a it's like a water slide. Look at this. Like
Is
there's
and
nothing
there's
here.
are there no like culturally facial appropriate glasses? It's just a lifelong problem that you've
Yeah.
had?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, that sucks.
Oakley does make like an Asian style sunglass that is
Uh-huh.
like a
It's
smaller
meant to
bridge
stay
like kind of
on a
area.
nose that has a really teeny bridge. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just default to
You don't
so
think
it
of these
makes
things. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
It's a good example
So
of look how distracted we are. How's that for a good segue?
I mean, listen, there's some really lovely things I think about being able to go off on tangents and
Yeah.
being able to explore those. And clearly, like anyone that's listened to, our show for a while know that Dana and
Yeah.
I are can fall victim to
Yeah.
our thinking.
Yeah.
And that in many ways is, I think breeds creativity
Yeah.
and think looking at things in a different way and stuff. But, Dana and I were talking about off air, just in our practices, how distractibility and where distractibility can come from.
Yeah.
And in my simple mind, think about distractibility as like external and internal distractibility, with
Mhm.
internal distractibility really including a lot of different things. Like you can have
Yeah.
your pure I'm in my head and I'm just like thinking about, oh my gosh, what am I going to get for dinner? And what
Yeah.
da, 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 and
Daydreaming.
then all
Yeah.
of a sudden
Yeah.
I'm on, and that's like your classic more inattentive kind of
Yeah.
ADHD. But what I tend to see in people that have trauma in their past or their histories is that distractibility can also be coming from their past or
Yeah.
traumatic responses.
Yeah.
And so, are we distracted by intrusive thinking or flashbacks or I'm really hyper aroused because I'm always on
Yeah. Trying
edge,
to work something out and you're caught in that
Wh-
loop
yeah,
of obsessing. Yeah.
yeah, maybe I'm trying to resist or not resist, but not go into certain areas. I don't want to talk about certain
Yeah.
areas. I
Because
don't want
they're,
to look at certain areas
yeah.
because those are too. And so then I'm looking pretty disconnected and impulsive
Mhm.
externally. But, I think most people get the external distractions. Like that's the
Yeah.
squirrel.
Yeah. There's a squirrel or, there's a noise in your house that you're trying to study and you can't let go of if your brain's yoked into that and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's important for us to talk about this because you have people that have hardwired distraction, ADHD being the perfect example. I think you do get some of that
Yeah.
in autism as well. I mean, they overlap, but autism as well, if you don't have ADHD, just because there's those, what are you paying attention to? And sort of, there's that constant processing internally. And I think of it as like a bandwidth. If you're got a problem in your head and you're trying to work through it, there isn't there's no true thing of split attention. So some of the seminal work on this, and I talk to my students about it because they're all, young in their 20s now. And they're like, I can drive and text at the same time. And I'm like, well, okay, I hope that's working out well for you.
It's
Some
working out
studies
so
show, yeah,
far.
yeah, so
So
far,
far.
studies really show that about 2% of people can effectively do something like texting and driving at the same time. So
Hmm.
it isn't you're doing it at the same time, you're switching back and forth. And if you're switching back and forth, it's which one is holding your attention more and so on and so forth. So if you've got something going on internally, let's say you had a fight with somebody or you've had something that was traumatizing happening, even if it didn't happen today, but you're thinking about it, that takes up all that bandwidth. It's like you can't do those two things at one time.
Yeah.
So people get distracted all the time. It doesn't mean your brain is doing it wrong and you can't attend to more than one thing at a time. It means we're not wired to truly attend to more than one thing at a time. So if you've got ADHD and you've got trauma on top of it, you're going to be having a lot of distraction, especially if there's triggers that are there, or you happen to be mulling on one, or like me, flipping through social media and see an upsetting, stupid reel video on Facebook yesterday. This, I'm not talking from real life. Yes, I am. And then it was one in my clinical day and I was in between clients and I saw it and I'm like, oh, and right away I'm like, damn it, why was that even in my feed? And I had to like center myself because I knew that was going to
Yeah.
hijack my brain. I was just going to keep it in there over and over and over and over. And so I'm like, all right, how do I need to get that out of there so I can focus? Because I know those things happen. And, it's like running for the remote when the stupid ASPCA ads come out. It's like, I don't want to see the poor starving dog. And it wasn't enough for me to just like imagine it in my mind and imagine that the dog was okay. I had to go online and do a quick little thing of research. It had to do with lab animals. And you'll be happy to know that in the United States, almost all, and there is a plan for late 2026 for all medical research on dogs to end. So I was like, okay. And like for me, that's what I needed. And I could tell as soon as that like unhooked. It was still upsetting, stupid video I saw. And I know those things happen, but it was upsetting. And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
sitting here with clients. I can't be my brain, that's a big enough trauma trigger for me that I'm going to be like not hearing what people are saying.
Yeah.
So I had like 7 minutes till the session started, and I was madly typing on Google just to do research on it, and that helped me. God, I don't know what I would have done if Google would have said it's a terrible problem. Maybe I donate somewhere or whatever. That was clearly a trauma trigger, right? That isn't something specific trauma trigger because I've never worked in lab animals and I know those sort of things happen, but it was upsetting to me as an affront and horrible things that can happen, right? It's like the news out here in the Pacific Northwest. If one of the orcas has a baby, it's just great news. And then if the baby disappears, it's on every damn broadcast. And I'm like, all right, we all know the baby's gone. Do we have to have it on every broadcast for the next 2 weeks? It's terrible. And so that sort of thing, if you know about yourself, you know a trauma trigger, it doesn't mean you're a bad person because you're not attending to it. You start to learn and know what's going to hijack you. Now I get really mad when I know something like that comes at me and it wasn't me doing it.
Hmm.
Something got in there. I get pissed now. I'm like, damn it, I didn't want to see that. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So it is useful to learn when it is distraction that's something coming from internally, or if it's a trigger, or if it is a normal distraction where you're just thinking about what you're going to have for dinner, or driving past a donut place and lamenting the fact that you can't eat gluten anymore, and it'd be nice to have a really good donut once in a while. And then you're like, did I stop at that red light on the way home or didn't I, because I was thinking so much about donuts? So then we can get
This
into
is, of
splitting
course,
the
hypotheticals. These are, of
hypothetical.
course,
Yeah,
everyone. This doesn't really actually happen to Dana. These are just hypothetical situations.
of course. And then if we get into like, if you really want to get like into the neurobiological parts of it, attention is comprised of a bunch of different things. So when people say
Yeah.
I can't pay attention, as a someone that knows about neuropsychology, my brain goes to, ooh, what's going on there? Are you attending to it now? Is it internal? Is it in your short or long term or working memory? Is it spatially related versus word related? Because they process differently. So sometimes you can do some of those same things at one time. And think about when you've done something that you've automatically, like you learn to make soup. open the can, put it in the pan, turn on the stove. And you're probably not sitting there thinking, open the can, pour it. Maybe if you've never done it before, pour it in the pan. You're thinking about whatever while you're doing that. So you can have like that motor memory that's on autopilot, like a lot of like driving.
Yeah.
And something like driving where you're used to just attending to stopping at a stop sign or a stop light or whatever is sort of okay. It's that version of that. But if something unexpected happens, like a car pulls out in front of you and you're texting, those are two of the same, they're pulling from that same system. And so you're not going to be able to do either one effectively, right? So
Yeah.
I'll tell clients who get distracted a lot, let's say it is trauma, or they have ADHD as well. And there's a lot of sort of, oh, well, I can't help it. I didn't get my paper done. I hear this from students all the time. I didn't get my paper done because, it's this thing. And I understand that, but there's so much disempowerment when you haven't tried to drill into that. If you know, for example, like I used to know before an exam that I had in class, I couldn't hang outside the classroom before class because everybody was out there milling about, freaking out, full of anxiety. And I knew that was going to be a bad trigger for me. I was going to get anxious too. So I would always wait on a different floor or I'd wait like near the mailroom after everybody went in, then I'd go in. But I had to learn that about myself. The first couple times I was spazzing out with other people and before the test, like, oh my God, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And so it is important to kind of learn your triggers. And then the key is to take care of yourself around that, right? Because then you're empowering yourself. It doesn't mean you're ever going to, if you just will yourself through like, well, this sucks. I have ADHD and I'm so distractible. And yes, it does suck. And you have ADHD and you're easily distractible. What can you do to help that better, right? What could happen around that? I was just reading an article this morning. This is in the UK. It's a little bit related, but I think it drives this point home. Excuse me. It's a newer study on kids there that had it was called school refusal. I think it's probably something
Mm-hmm.
a term you're more
Sure.
familiar with. And they did a study on kids that were school refusal, or however they identified those, that like 98% of these kids are neurodivergent. 98% of them. So all I kept thinking was, and then the reasons for that were sensory, they were overstimulation, they were, for younger kids not being able to, haven't kind of figured out how to manage inner world, whether it's physical or mental, and then school at the same time. And so they, school refuses sort of freak out about doing that. If you think about attention and you've got all those things going on, how are you going to be able to attend to anything? And these are all folks that were in mainstream classes, and in that system it sounds like they have a long way to go to get accommodation plans in place, right? And so having a different entry or having a classroom full of folks for that or doing it remotely or whatever else it is to serve that difference in how the brains are working, to lower that overall load. And so when I have students say to me who are having trouble getting papers in on time, who say, I need to have to play this video game while I'm listening to your lecture, we usually have a little chat, and I educate them and send them to some resources about how inattention works. And split attention, that's not a thing. You actually need to do more attending. Now, on a physical level, you may need to get up and stand in the back and move around. You may need to have my students got these awesome, really big squishies that are like this big thing looks like a stick of butter. And there
Mm.
were 4 of them in there. They all had these things last week and they're just squeezing like crazy. It was awesome, right? So these are people in their 20s figuring out a way to attend to my stats lecture and they're squeezing these things. And I'm like, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So you figure out ways around those things. And if I'm talking purely attention with ADHD, that's hard enough. Now, if we add trauma pieces on top of that, it can just feel like the kiss of death in a learning environment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, quite unusual actually. I haven't met many neurodivergent adults who don't have some level or some
Yeah.
kind of trauma,
Yeah.
educationally.
Yeah, even if it's
for
from growing up
sure.
neurodivergent, and then if you
Yeah.
add familial trauma on top of it, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Right. So there's
yeah.
lots of these layers. And it does go back to other things that we've spoken about, which is cognitive resourcing, right?
Hmm.
We are all given a certain amount of resources. That's not something we can necessarily change per se.
Yeah,
But that we got to know what takes energy from us and
yeah,
what doesn't, or how much
mhm,
energy it takes. And
yeah,
while that can feel very arbitrary, this is something that makes my clients very uncomfortable when I'll
yeah.
say, how much energy does that take on a scale of 0 to 10? And they'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't even, like, I can't even come up with a number. And it's
Because they're
like,
so used to
okay,
the defeat, right? They're so used
right.
to it never working out. Yeah.
Or it's just not,
Aw,
they don't believe that one, it's fluctuating. Two, they don't believe that giving a number is accurate enough. Three,
yeah,
there's lots of reasons for this. Like there's lots of
yeah.
thinking kind of reasons for this, right? So I'll just
Hmm.
be like, is it a low, medium, or high energy suck?
Well, there you
And
go.
a lot of times boring, non-preferred
Mm,
activities are high energy activities for people
yeah,
because they don't want to do them and they have to work really, really hard to
yeah.
complete these activities. And so it's this is why it's important to have neuroaffirming care in many ways, because
Mm.
someone who is ableistic is going to be like, that's an easy task for everybody,
Yeah,
therefore that
what's
should
wrong
be an
with
easy
you?
task for you.
Mm. Yeah.
And so that's just not something that, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
But for some people too, I see this in some of the autistic clients that I work with. They have motor challenges. And
Yeah.
so they don't automate or procedurally automate
Easily.
their
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
the things that we take for granted, like brushing our teeth,
Yeah.
carrying something, they actually have to manually kind of
Yeah.
work themselves through those
They
moments
are doing
and
the soup thing every time. Yeah, I
every
haven't gotten them
time
there yet.
because their
Yeah.
brain does not automate those
Yeah.
things. And so,
Yeah.
they're exhausted by 11 a.m.,
Hmm.
right? Like, and we
Yeah.
wonder why like this is happening for people. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I think the purpose of Dana and I splitting hairs, because we tend to split hairs a lot
Hmm.
on the show, it's to empower people to understand themselves so that they can care for themselves properly.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
like, I've had to put myself on a media restriction.
Hmm.
Um, and I now know, one, I can't listen or watch media, but I can read a summary
Oh yeah.
every
Yeah.
week. Like that's
Yeah.
what I do now. I
Yeah.
read a summary,
Yeah.
and that's from a more neutral news
Yeah.
source as
So
well.
you're not just getting condensed milk, you're getting sweetened condensed milk.
Yeah,
The way I like to say it. Yeah.
yeah, I really am just like, and because I just know, like reading
Hmm.
it as a summary, sometimes just headlines,
Yeah.
on a neutral platform is for me providing me facts or
Yeah.
information versus adding the emotionality that
Yeah.
really
Which tends,
opens loops for
yeah,
me.
you tend to see that like on live news or in memes and things like that. It's more emotionally loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
stay
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
that. I also don't do any
Yeah.
socials. And so that,
Yeah.
I'm a dinosaur in that way. But I just know that those things are bad for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I it can affect me emotionally. And then I feel very, very disempowered and helpless and
And
hopeless.
drained. Yeah. Yeah. You talk about
So
that energy thing. Yeah, I'm envisioning, I saw this somewhere before. It's probably speaking to what you're talking about, with probably fifth or sixth grade or somewhere around there. And they created like this pie chart thing, and then had different pieces of the pie. And they were all, I'm going to talk office supplies here, so get ready. Everybody loves office supplies.
I
Those
love
things that you
office
put through a
supplies.
hole and then you open up the little thingies
Yeah.
so you can
The
spin
Brads.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brad's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what they could do was at any given point in time, they could move those pie pieces to make it show how big something is operating in their life right now. And you could do this with attention, right? Maybe not with the Brad's, but something sticking
Yeah.
on there. So me thinking about the video I saw yesterday, maybe it's taking up this huge piece of pie at the moment, and then I see what the other things are. That's how you learn about how your brain hooks onto things or can't let it go or etc. Right? It was still a little bit there this morning, and I'm like, oh, there it is. Damn it! So I have to now attend to it, and I know if I don't attend to that, it's going to come up and bite me. If I take a moment and sort of internally frame what soothes me around those things, then I can make that pie piece a little bit smaller. And that's what we're talking about, right? Especially if it has
Yeah.
to do with trauma. It's not that you're not going to deal with it or news. I know me as an individual isn't going to change everything that's going on in the country right now.
Hmm.
So for me, I have to know what helps. Some of it is just even having that mental exercise. I know people are working on it. Me in my little room in the middle of Seattle isn't going to have an effect just me. I'm going to trust that it's being worked on out there. Maybe I contribute to various groups that, are meaning making for me or whatever. But if you just let it sort of operate and never pin it down or name it or talk about it, especially if it's a trauma thing, you never can deal with it, right? How do you
Well,
know to walk over the pile of poop when you don't know where the poop is?
yeah.
Pinning it down is like the poop's right there. It's totally terrible. It's not just this big pile of poop. I can smell it. It's terrible. There's not a lot of room to walk around it. And then we might say, okay, so today, jump over it. So you know it's there, you acknowledge it. And that's a trauma tactic, right? That's trauma informed care. It's like the boogeyman in the basement.
Yep.
You're always better off knowing what's there, as scary as that sounds, than not knowing what's there and running up the stairs each time with that hair on the back of your neck going up. There's no empowerment in that. Turn around, look. 9 times out of 10, it's either nothing there or it's a lot smaller than you thought. And the 1% where it is the big boogeyman, well, now at least you know what you're up against. And we can arm you with tactics to deal with that, right? Put
Yeah.
a knife in your hand or show you how to kick someone in the balls or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
empowerment. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think this is kind of the also with the idea of mindfulness,
Yeah.
right? What doesn't work for emotions is for you to there's that
Ignore it.
saying, what you resist persists. And the
Oh,
idea
yeah. Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
right, is you do want to take a look at it, but acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it and then deal with it. Let it
Yeah.
pass, but just be like, yeah, I'm freaked out. Like I'm
Yeah.
scared. This is scary to me in the moment, and you
Yeah.
will find that after you've named that emotion, um, you feel much better and you can
Yeah.
move on with it. But the more we run and avoid, does worsen anxiety in
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
ways and our symptoms. And so for some people, that means that that's exposure work and therapy. And
Yeah.
I'm just really hoping, and this is actually the thing that I really, really dislike about ABA.
Mm.
And is that in ABA there is, and maybe I'm wrong about this now, so forgive me, but it's been a long time. But back in the day, we used to expose kids and things to things that they didn't want to do and things and we would just like make them do it, right?
Oh, God.
Versus like
Yeah.
in traditional, like in exposure types of work, we arm people with coping strategies
Yeah.
first.
And then
We
you do
we
incremental change. Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you do this gradually and you check in with how distressing
Mm-hmm.
it is. We've called this SUDS, there's a SUDS scale, a
Mm-hmm.
subjective units of distress scale. But I will say it's intentional and
Mm-hmm.
there's a framework to make it as easy as possible on the
Mm-hmm.
person. Versus just grin and bear it and put your head down. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
most
And you
people
get
have
them through
done.
that side of that piece of work and then put them back together before they go back out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That takes the skill of a
Yeah.
psychologist or a therapist.
Yeah.
That's not something that should be given to someone with a certification that doesn't
Right.
understand
Yeah.
emotional health, mental health, and how complicated it is. Because,
Right.
it's complicated. I'm not here to say it's easy because it's not,
Mm-hmm.
it's really
Mm-hmm.
not easy. I mean,
Yeah.
no session looks the same for my
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
In many, many ways. But I think like distractibility is this kind of bigger thing that I'm seeing
Mm-hmm.
that is not, we're just not getting into the weeds enough. with
It
it.
parlays into avoidance, and then that's not good. And
Yeah.
think about what it's like when you have something going on and you tell someone and you get validated, even just being seen, how much better that feels. If you're not doing that to yourself, you're not seeing yourself. You're doing an
Mhm.
internal version of that over and over and over, which
Yeah.
isn't good. And yeah, then it becomes avoidance. And avoidance, you don't change things. And avoidance is a coping tool. Avoidance works at certain times. You need to do that at times, but if it does that long term, it really, when I was doing psychodrama and we had someone who was avoiding something, and we would use a lot of props and things like that, and we would have the person, we just start putting stuff on them, or having them on all fours, and we just start loading pillows on top of them until it's like, okay, it was better when they were standing up and you could like put stuff around straps, so they're walking around the room with this enormous amount of stuff, and that's stuff they weren't dealing with, right?
Mhm.
To give the visual of what it's like if you aren't dealing with those things and you're carrying them around, you will pay a huge psychic burden. You'll get sick. You'll get a
Yeah.
disease state. You will
Yeah.
not be happy. You'll be depressed. You'll be anxious. And so, slowly taking those pieces off that aren't yours or working through some things, you do free yourself up. And once you get that feeling, I tell clients this all the time, therapy has no guarantees, right? But I'll give you one guarantee. And that is, if you do wade through the poop, and don't stop mid wade. You actually go through the poop for that layer. You're going to feel relief at the end. And it does. You work through a layer and you're like, well, that sucked. But then after that, you're like, oh, wow, I feel a little bit physically, even feel a little bit
Yeah.
lighter. And you
Yeah.
just keep doing that and doing it and doing it to work through those versions of trauma. And then hopefully, if you're ADHD, the ADHD doesn't go away, but you notice the combination factor starts to lift and things get a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
And then you can attend to ADHD things with what we do to help folks deal with ADHD attention stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point too, Dana. Like sometimes people will be like, well, I've done a lot of executive functioning coaching and it's not working.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of times that means that there's probably something more
Trauma.
emotionally, like kind of
Yeah.
trauma
Yeah.
based underlying that. So that could
Exactly.
be one of those differentials that,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
would make as a psychologist.
Hmm.
But be kind to yourself, you guys. It's like being kind doesn't mean avoidance. Like that,
Yeah.
like so sometimes, I think therapy, in therapy we really try to create a space of non-judgment and safety.
Hmm.
And so it can get the bad rap of, well, you're just in there colluding with your client.
Oh
W-
no, yeah, that's what journaling is. So I used to journal
Yes.
religiously, and it was
Yeah.
writing all those things down and trying to process them, and then taking that to therapy. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I journaling is so I recommend journaling a lot to people.
Hmm.
And part of that is it's an exposure.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
and
a
it helps you work through
lovely,
things.
it
Actually,
does body, like
dumping
from a body
helps.
perspective, like it just
Yeah.
it your body, you're through. And when I journal pen to paper. So
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm physically getting it
Hmm.
out. And I think
Hmm.
that that's really great as well. But
Hmm.
so distractibility comes from a lot of different places. And so
Yeah.
understanding where it's coming from, and you can have distractibility coming from multiple places,
Hmm. Hmm.
will help empower you
Yeah.
with choices. And
Yep.
so that's the name of the game here.
Yeah.
It's not being defeatist. It is accepting how you work and what's happened to
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
and moving through with
That's right.
choices.
Yep.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm hoping that's helpful for people. That came
Yeah.
up that came up pretty saliently in my practice
Yeah.
this past
Absolutely.
week already. So I was telling Dana, I was like, Dana, we gotta talk about distractibility. But
And
anyway,
I
all
went,
right, everyone. Yeah.
what?
What? She said, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Sorry,
I
what?
was what? It's ridiculous. All right. All right,
All
everyone.
right.
Be good to you, be good to others, and we will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye, everybody.